Before I start the tutorial, here is this week's giveaway, a print of my watercolor of a curious corgi. This corgi is printed on real canvas, not paper. To enter the giveaway, follow the Rafflecopter link below. I'll send this print out to the winner as soon as possible, but we are so close to Christmas that I can't guarantee it will arrive before the holiday. My goal for this tutorial was to have a completed wreath within an hour, using materials I had on hand. Because I was being quick about it, some of my work is messy, but I knew that the rough edges would be hidden in the end. The base of the wreath is 2 circles cut from cardboard. I started cutting around with a utility knife and finished with cardboard cutting scissors. My original idea was to have the central heart be part of the 2 base pieces. I would leave the heart connected to the cardboard circles in a few areas so that it would be nestled within the pine boughs. But as I was sketching around on the cardboard, I realized that the heart wouldn't be visible enough. I decided that I wanted the heart to be raised and slightly above the pine boughs. I used school glue to join the 2 base circles. Later in the project, I switched to using a hot glue gun, which saved time so that I didn't have to wait for glue to dry. I made the hole in the bottom cardboard circle smaller than the top circle. At the time, I was thinking it would make the wreath lighter, but I don't think it matters that much. Another time, I would make the holes the same size. I used a scrap piece of paper to cut out my heart template. After tracing the heart template onto cardboard, I trimmed down the template for a second, smaller heart. I had to trim the template a few times until it looked right. I traced the trimmed template onto another part of the cardboard and cut out both hearts. I always have lots of craft paint in the house, and so I had white and red on hand so that I could paint the hearts. I painted the bottom heart white so that it would set off the red heart better. While the paint dried, I cut 1.5-inch squares out of cardboard. I glued stacks of 4 squares together. These would become supports to lift the hearts above the cardboard base. The paint on the white heart still felt cool as if it were still drying, so I used a hairdryer until it was bone dry. By this time, I'd switched to using the glue gun to save time. I glued supports onto the red heart. I glued the bases of the supports of the red heart onto the white heart. Then I flipped over the white heart and glued supports around the rim. Before gluing the hearts onto the wreath base, I wrapped cord from inside the circle around the outside. I had cord on hand, but you can use string, ribbon, or even thin wire instead. You will notice that I painted the wreath base a bright green. I didn't have a green that matched the boughs closer, so I just went with what I had. As it is, the green paint will help hide any areas that the boughs don't cover. I glued the supports on the back of the white heart and positioned it on the base. I knew that I would be using an over-the-door wreath hanger, so I didn't need to worry about adding a hanger to my wreath. But if you plan to hang yours on a nail, it would be a good time to tie a string loop around the top of the wreath. This year I didn't get around to trimming the pine tree that grows against our house, so I had plenty of boughs to work with. Working in one direction, I tucked a bough under the cord and glued the stem in place. Then I kept adding and gluing down boughs. As you work, you'll notice that the top of a bough is a darker green than the bottom. You'll probably want to keep the color consistent with the lighter side of the bow facing down. Keep filling in any bare spots. You can trim any boughs that are sticking out too far later. To finish off the wreath, I wrapped a ribbon around the boughs, tucking the ends in as I went. My goal was to make this wreath in an hour. I would have saved time if I'd used my glue gun from the start instead of the school glue that had to dry. I underestimated how much greenery I would need and ended up going outside 3 times with my clippers. This involved pulling on my boots and slogging through 2 feet of snow, so that did add a chunk of time I wasn't planning on. All in all, the wreath took an hour and 10 minutes to make.